Welcome to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation, the show where we delve into the profound impact of religion, spark provoking conversation, explore the world through an open-minded perspective. I'm your host, Tafari, here to bring you engaging discussions, eye-opening stories, and conversation that pulls no punches. Whether it's faith, culture, creativity, or real-life experience, we keep it raw, honest, and unfiltered.
Does God hate black people? I think that's an important question, a question that too many black theists have ignored. Right? If you look at our experience, it is overwhelmingly tied to suffering. And true, all folks suffer, but this is disproportionate and unto death. And it ought to force us to raise the question, if God is loving, kind, just, and compassionate and concerned with folks and can make stuff happen, and black folks still suffer disproportionately, then maybe that God doesn't like black people. Because white folks in general, right, as a group, seem to be doing all right. Black folks as a whole, not doing so well. And forget about the kind of misery that black women face. Or black trans folks. Forget about that kind of misery. Just in general, there is an overwhelming experience of misery. And again, if God is loving, kind, just, compassionate, concerned with folks and can make stuff happen, and black folks are disproportionately suffering, then maybe God doesn't like black folks. It's a question that's got to be wrestled with. And black Christians in particular haven't wrestled with it because they read the Bible assuming they are the favored community. Right? They are the equivalent of the children of Israel. But if you look at our experience in the context of North America, you can make a reasonable argument, perhaps a more reasonable argument, that we are the Canaanites, the Moabites, the Hittites, the folks who get a whooping. Right, so it seems to me that is a question that is central, that has to be wrestled with, but black theists have ignored it.
That was Anthony B. Penn, PhD, professor, Rice University, was a former pastor, now an atheist. If religion is the key to peace, hope, happiness, and morality, why does it keep needing to prove itself? Let's sit with that for a moment. If believing in God truly makes life better, then why are so many believers barely surviving? Why are churches filled with people in pain, struggling emotionally, mentally, financially, and spiritually? Why are the most devout often the most desperate? They tell us that faith brings hope. God provides peace. Religion keeps society moral, and Christians are happier. These phrases are tossed around like spiritual anesthesia, comforting sound bites that help the religious sleep at night. But if you live through them, if you wrestle with the promise and still found yourself broken, empty, and stuck, you know they aren't always true. And when they fail, they don't just disappoint, they destroy. That was a couple of paragraphs from my book, People of the Mystic. Peace and power, family. You're listening to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation. I'm your host, Tafari, the show where we unpack the uncomfortable, unlearn the programmed, and push truth into the opening. Today's episode is titled, The Lie That Faith Heals All. Now, let me ask you something real. If religion is truly the key to peace, hope, happiness, and morality, then why does it need to keep proving itself? If God makes life better, why are so many of his followers barely making it in all areas of their lives? Let's talk about the sweet-sounding slogan that floods the black church and religious circles. Believing in God gives peace. Faith gives me hope. Religion keeps society moral. Christians are happier people. They sound good. They are comforting to repeat. But if you ever lived through these beliefs, if you ever clung to them in your lowest moment, you know how dangerous they can be. Because when they don't hold up, they don't just disappoint, they damage. Let's break it down. Believing in God gives me peace. What kind of peace? The kind that tells a grieving mother her child died because it was God's plan. The kind that convinces oppressed people to stay silent and suffer because their reward is in heaven. That's not peace. That's sedation. That's religious anesthesia, numbing the pain so folks don't rise up and demand real change. Faith gives me hope. Hope in what exactly? That your suffering has some magical purpose? That's after a lifetime of pain, you'll get your blessing in some invisible afterlife? That's not hope. That's a spiritual lottery ticket. And when the number don't come through, when nothing changed, it breeds a deeper despair than before. Hope without action is a trap. It teaches people to wait for deliverance instead of becoming their own deliverer. Religion keeps society moral. That's rich, especially when some of the worst atrocities in human history were done in the name of religion. Slavery, colonization, genocide, misogyny, homophobia, you name it. If religion is the moral compass, then why do so many churches ignore justice but obsess over judgment? Morality doesn't come from scripture. It comes from consciousness. And if you need a book to tell you not to harm others, you don't need religion. You need reflection. Christians are happier people. Then why are so many of them bitter? Why are so many depressed in secret, ashamed because their faith hasn't healed them? If you have to constantly post, shout, and prove that you're happy, maybe you're not. This lie that faith equals happiness is a setup. It tells people that if they are still struggling, they're the problem. Didn't pray hard enough, didn't believe strong enough, didn't fast long enough. It's a rigged game where the house always wins and the people always lose. Here's the truth. If a belief system really gave peace, it wouldn't need to constantly defend itself. If God was truly delivering results, people wouldn't have to scream it from the mountaintop. They would live it. But we see the opposite. We see people crying on the church floors week after week, begging for answers. We see believers struggling with poverty, abuse, depression, broken relationships, all the while being told, hold on just a little while longer. Religion loves to sell hope, but never refunds disappointment. This is not an attack on souls. It's a defense of the truth. Faith doesn't always heal. Religion doesn't always help. And sometimes those slogans we were taught to repeat becomes a chain that binds our freedom. If you're living by a belief that's keeping you stuck, sad, or silent, it's time to ask yourself, is this really saving me or is it sedating me? You've been listening to Movement, Rhythm, and Conversation with Tafari. Today's episode was real, raw, necessary. If this sparks something in you, share it, talk about it, challenge it. And remember, you don't need faith to be whole. You need freedom to be real. Until next time, stay conscious, stay curious, and most of all, stay free.